Professor Moshe Philip graduated from Ben Gurion University, Beersheba, Israel in 1983. Specialized in pediatric endocrinology at University of Maryland School of Medicine in Baltimore. He is director of the Institute of Endocrinology and Diabetes, the National Center for Childhood Diabetes at Snyder Children's Medical Center, Petah Tikva, Israel, and served as Vice Dean for Research and Development as well as Chair of the Erin and Nicholas Marsh Fund for Endocrinology and Diabetes at the Scholar Faculty of Medicine, Tel Aviv University, Tel Aviv. Professor Philip is active in both clinical and basic research focusing on childhood diabetes, growth and nutrition, specifically on diabetes technologies and interaction between nutrition and the growth. Professor Philip is member of national and international organizations such as Israel National Committee for Diabetes, International Society for Pediatric and Adolescent Diabetes, European Society for Pediatric Endocrinology, Pediatric Endocrine Society, and more. He is co-founder and co-chairman for International Conference on Advanced Technologies and Treatment for Diabetes and International Conference on Nutrition and Growth. Professor Philip has more than 400 manuscripts and 80 TD yearbook, NNG yearbook, as well as chapter in other books. He will deliver his topic on clinical decision support system and patient-centered care. It's over to you, Dr. Philip.
Thank you so much. Am I allowed to upload my presentation? Yes, it is.
Yeah, careful.
Is that okay? Can you see us?
Yes, sir.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me to visit India. I was many times in India, loved visiting India. This is the most bizarre way to visit India, but I'm still happy that that I'm with you today and I got the opportunity to spend some time with you. I will talk about the clinical decision support system for patient-centered care. And as you all know, we are trying our best to control our blood glucose profiles of our patients all the time. We are trying to keep them within the appropriate hemoglobin A1C to prevent them from going into the terrible side effect of diabetes like nephropathy, neuropathy, and ophthalmopathy, and so on. And the frustration is that despite the fact that we are getting better and better with technology, we have more insulin pumps available for patients, more sophisticated pens to inject insulin, more CGM devices and other SMBG devices that were not in the past in the hands of many patients, despite the fact this is a publication that came from the US when they compared the results of hemoglobin A1C in about 26 centers of excellence in the US. And as you can see, not only we didn't got better in the last few years, actually the hemoglobin A1C got worse over the years, or didn't improve in adults and got worse in children and adolescents. And the question, of course, is how come that we have only about 30% of our type 2 diabetic patients in the US that are achieving the metabolic control, and only 20% of those who have type 1 that achieve the desired metabolic control. We call it the technology paradox, and when you try to figure out why is it, it might be related to a very well-known observation from the early 90s. We already in the famous DCCT study the world have shown that by frequent meeting with a patient and with education, continuous education to the patient and frequent adjustment of insulin doses and multiple daily injections for those who are on injections and insulin pumps for those who can use insulin pumps, you can get to the desired metabolic control and prevent all those terrible complications for many, many years. And the question is why, despite the fact that we are improving with technology, we are not there yet. One of the reasons probably has to do with the availability of experts to the people with diabetes all over the world. This is the map of the US, and the blue dots are countries where adults have access to endocrinologists within 20 miles. And as you can see, there are not so many endocrinologists for adults in the US, which is a big and a rich country. I wonder how is it in India? Because with the technology, and you can see on the right side, a printout of blood glucose level coming from a pump user or from any patient who are on MDI. And it becomes more and more complicated with more information. You need more time, you need more knowledge of how to interpret the data. And if there are not so many physicians out there, that might be one of the reasons why we don't see improvement, and actually we didn't achieve anything much with the new technologies. Add to it the fact that the number of diabetic people or people with diabetes are increasing all over the world, while the number of healthcare providers is not. So the question is, can we use the technology to develop artificial intelligence-based decision support system that can help the patient to make the right decision when he is alone out there, and help physician, just a regular primary care physician, help him to make the right decision during a patient's visit, and by that we can increase the number of team members. So if we will be able to do it right, we can have artificial intelligence-based team member. And if that is achievable, we can then actually increase the accessibility, or we can get actually to every patient all over the world, wherever he is, to every physician all over the world, wherever he is, with a artificial intelligence-based support system that can help him to make the right decision, even though he's not expert in diabetes. And with that in mind, we started about 15 years ago to implement the way the physician thinks into a closed loop system. We called it the MD logic approach, which meant to be medical doctor logic approach. We are not engineers, but we hired engineers to work with us in our hospital, and we asked them to transfer the way we think into an algorithm that can be used automatically by the computer to turn the decisions that we are educating our patients to make, of how much to inject, how to change the basal, how to change the bolus. It was a classical basal bolus approach made by a computer based on the way the physician thinks. And indeed, in 2011, we went out from the hospital for the first time in the world, out of the hospital with artificial pancreas to 3 resort areas, one in Israel, the other one in Slovenia, and the third one in Germany. And it became a manuscript in the New England Journal of Medicine showing that the way that a medical physician thinks can be translated into an algorithm that can serve people to keep their blood glucose level much better than without it. And as you can see, this is on the left side of the figure, you can see the way that the night went out with a MD-Logic approach and with the control group. So there was no question it's feasible. We then sold our algorithm to Medtronic to be introduced into the new advanced hyperclosed loop syndrome, advanced hybrid closed loop system. And we conducted a study with NIH support to compare the way or the outcome of the use of the advanced hyperclosed loop system, to compare it to people who were on the 670, which was the first developed ever commercially available closed loop system. And indeed, it was presented in 2020 and in a manuscript. It was also, the results were presented by Professor Rich Bengelstad from the US, who was a co-PI to the study in the ADA in the last year, where we showed that actually there is no much difference, and actually there is a significant difference if you use the advanced hyperclosed loop that also is able to give automated bonuses compared to the previous version. So actually it's a commercially available tool that is going to be presented all over the world. We are now running another study comparing again the old, it's not so old, but the 670 version to advanced hybrid closed loop to the hybrid closed loop system. And in the younger age group, it's a German-Israeli research done by, supported by the German-Israeli Foundation, and it's done by the group in Hanover, Dr. Kondenuri, and the group in Israel, my group, by Dr. Revital Nimri, and the results are not out there yet. But not everybody will use a pump, and most of your patients are not using pump and probably will never use a closed loop system. Even those that are using pump not necessarily will use a closed loop system. So we need solutions, we need support for the team that is taking care of people who are on pumps alone, together with SMBG, or MDI together with sensors, or MDI together with flash, or MDI together with SMBG, and I think that the majority will probably still be on MDI and SMBG program. And we understand that people with type 1 or type 2 diabetes need support, and their caregivers with the new technologies need support, especially if they are not experts in their field. So actually we developed together with the team of engineers that are now called the MD-Logic team, that are now called DreamEd. We actually developed a way by which the download of the data is going up to the cloud, is analyzed, and getting back to the computer or cellular phone of both physician and patients. And our program is able to take information from SMBG, from CGM, from pumps, and from insulin syringes if you have a connected pen. If you don't have a connected pen, you can just push the information into an app. All that information goes to the cloud. In the cloud, you get it analyzed by the algorithm developed by DreamHead, and the provider gets a suggestion of how to adjust the patient's need versus whether he was on pumps or MDI. So changes about basal rate, carb ratio, correction factor, and even tips about behavioral tips of forgetting insulin injections or injecting it after meal, and so many other tips can be delivered to the physician. If physician approves it, it immediately, the program, the detailed program of how to make the changes immediately appears on the cellular phone of the patient. So we have done quite a few studies over the years from 2016 until recently, where we actually compared the way that different physicians from different centers thinks, and then we have compared it to our algorithm. So we try to see at the beginning on 50 scenarios, and then we increased it to 26 experts that looked at the 15 scenarios, gave their advice. We compared how different healthcare providers, physicians, how they interpreted the data and what kind of advice they give to the patient, and then we compared it to the advisor. We published or presented most of it in the past, and eventually we got to the pivotal 6 months prospective randomized multi-center multinational study. And the manuscript appeared in Nature Medicine last September 2020. And the title is Insulin Dose Optimization Using an Automated Artificial Intelligence-Based Decision Support System in Use with Type 1 Diabetes. We focused on the youth because this is the most difficult group to treat. So the first model was done by these 7 centers of around the world, 4 centers in the US and 3 centers outside of the US. So outside of the US, we had a group of Ljubljana, Germany, with Ljubljana, Slovenia, with Professor Tadej Batelino, Thomas Dane with his group in Germany, and our group in Israel. These are the 3 centers outside of the US. In the US, we had the Joslin Center with a nice group of friends and experts, led by Lori Lefel. Yale group with Stu Weisenman. The group of University of Florida with Desmond Schatz, and the group in Colorado with Zober. And we got a nice grant from Hemsley Trust, and it's time to thank them for that opportunity to compare the expert way to the advisor, the automatic advisor. So when patients downloaded their information, they got an advice of how to continue and control their blood glucose level, either by the expert from one of these magnificent centers or from the automatic algorithm. 122 patients participated, and the primary endpoint was the efficacy was judged by being a time in range within 70 to 180, and the safety was judged by not having hypoglycemia. And the manuscript actually showed that there were no significant difference. There was no inferiority. This was the design to show that there was no inferiority to the algorithm over an expert from one of these centers. And in this slide, we can also see that actually there was no real difference in hemoglobin A1C. If you insist, the algorithm made a little bit better result of hemoglobin A1C. But actually, it was not a meaningful, really a huge difference. So, but think about what does it mean? It means that if I'm a general practitioner in some community and I have no experience with diabetes, I can, with the use of this program, I can get to the level of expertise that my friends and colleagues from centers of excellence get to. And this is a huge opportunity for healthcare providers all over the world to get to use technology that they are not so familiar with, and they can enjoy the advisor to better control their patients. And we have actually shown the proof that algorithm can be fed with human intelligence and get similar results. And we are now running a study on people with MDI, multiple daily injection, using SMBG and giving the results directly to the patient. So if we can mimic the way that physician thinks, and physicians are not making so many changes, and they agree and they accept, and actually the results show that we get very similar results to the expert physician. Why not to give it directly to patient? And this is where we are heading to. And not only we will give the results directly to the patient and in between visits, it's not instead of a visit, it is in between visits, and still some of the parameters will be given by the expert during the visit. We can add features like telling the patient and educate the patient and warning the patient from doing the same mistake twice. For example, hey, I have noticed that when you reach this place twice before, you got hypo or you got hyper. And so be careful. It's the third time that you are here. You might have to be more careful next time. So this is pretty much what we are doing. It's time to say thank you to all my group that are collaborating and working together in order to create these sophisticated tools, including in this picture is the medical team together with the engineers that are working together. And I would like to use the opportunity that I'm meeting you guys for a kind of optimistic approach. I hope that we will have a meeting in ATTD meeting in Paris at the beginning of June, a real face-to-face meeting, gathering together, seeing each other, shaking hands probably, and the reason for optimism is that the vaccination has started all over the world, and I hope that by June we will be able to travel again and to visit each other again. Thank you so much.